Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight I'm going to bring you our very first look at the Tier 5 German carrier, the Weser. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. I apologize, but that's closest I can get. Our commander, Hans Giesler, aka Hans Geisler. You guys know I get a lot of people comment on it, so it's both ways. I don't care. Next, we're running Swatting at Flies, Dark Silhouette, Out of Sight, and Heavy Consequences for our perks, and we are running Corkscrew for even more. Okay? Then we are running Flight Control Mod 1, and we are running Air Groups Mod 2. For our loadout, we are running Community Contributor Flag. We are also running the Regia Marina Camo. We'll take this off just so that you guys can see the base stats without the camo. Survivability, 41,000 hit points. Aircraft, you have the Fieseler 167s, apparently. Biplanes. Anyway, for a squadron of your torpedo bombers, 2,771 hit points. Cruise speed of 123 knots with a maximum speed of 163 knots. You attack in pairs, so you hit two planes per attack. You get 6 total per squadron, so a maximum of 3 drops per attack, or per squadron. Okay, 10 kilometer detectability range with 12 aircraft on deck. You get a 62-second aircraft restoration time. The torpedoes do a maximum of 5,433 damage, do 52 knots, and have a 3-kilometer torpedo range. For your dive bombers, you have the same planes, except they have 4,107 hit points with our build. They have a 140-knot cruise speed with a 180-knot maximum speed. Your attack unit, once again, is 2 with a 6 squadron, or 6 aircraft squadron, so 3 drops per squadron. 9.6 kilometer detectability range with 12 on deck and a 58-second aircraft restoration time. Maximum bomb damage is 9,180 if you can score citadels. About the only time that I use score citadels is on lightly armored battleships or cruisers with this thing, though. Haven't been able to, no matter what altitude I drop the bombs from, haven't really been able to citadel battleships regularly. It's usually French battleships. That's pretty much about the only ones that I citadel regularly. I have citadeled Arizonas and such, but it's very finicky. But anyway, artillery, you have 105mm 65 caliber guns. You have 10 of those that reach out to 4 kilometers and reload every 3.2 seconds. Maximum HE shell damage is 1,200 with a 5% chance to set fires. AA defense, you have 40 20mm flak Vierling guns that do 76 damage per second, reach out to 2.1 kilometers with our build. And the 37mm flak LM42s, you have 14 of those that do 87 damage per second and reach out to 3.7 kilometers. And then, of course, you have the 105mm L65s that you have 8 of that do 100 damage per second and reach out to 4.8 kilometers. Maneuverability, 32 knots, so pretty slow for a carrier. Turning circle radius is 930 meters, so not particularly good, but then it's a carrier, so what do you expect? Rudder shift time, 10.6 seconds, is actually not that bad. Concealment, 8.4 by sea. You have a 6.9 kilometer air detection, and then, of course, guaranteed detection is always 2 kilometers. Armor, it's carrier, you don't really have a whole lot, but you do have some bow armor. This is a German ship, and as such, you have some nice belt armor here at the front, which is 40mm, meaning nothing is going through the belt when you're bow tanking. Okay? However, all they have to do is hit anywhere else, and they're going to go right through like butter. Everything else, I mean, you can see is pretty substantial. Your citadel goes from the very front of the ship all the way to like 3/4 of the way back. Like, this is a massive citadel, and of course it goes down the center of the ship this way. So if you're trying to drop and get citadels on them with bombs, you want to go right down the center of the runway. Alright, let's look at the overview. AP bombs, aircraft equipped with armor-piercing bombs. You've got fast aircraft, aircraft with above-average speed, but feeble aircraft, aircraft with below-average hit points. The Weser, a project created during World War II to convert an Admiral Hipper-class heavy cruiser into an aircraft carrier. Weser inherited the high speed and strong armor protection of her prototype, while also outmatching the power of her AA defenses to a certain degree. Alright, so let's take a look at her. Not a bad looking aircraft carrier. The secondaries on this thing are pretty nasty. I'll showcase some of that in this match as well. And I'll also showcase why I just don't like playing aircraft carriers, regardless of how powerful they are. So, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are on Trident, and we are top tier. Now, I'll be real honest with you guys. You guys know I'm not a fan of the carriers. I don't like playing against carriers. I don't like playing carriers. I don't think they belong in the game overall, even though I know there are a lot of you that actually enjoy playing them. I just don't think that they belong. Okay? And the German carrier line especially, just because they are extremely powerful. Just to put this into perspective, we all know that I am not a good carrier player. I have been averaging 60 to 80,000 damage a game in this ship, trying to get a game that I think you guys would enjoy. And I think that this game is something that you guys will enjoy, and it also showcases pretty much all aspects of the ship. So, we're going to be talking about it. Now, first of all, I like to start out with my torpedo bombers, because one of the first things that you end up doing in a carrier is finding destroyers and potentially getting shot or getting torps into destroyers. AP bombs don't do anything against destroyers, and that's if you can even hit them to begin with, which I highly doubt. But torpedoes, much easier to hit destroyers with. And so I come blasting across the center of the map in hopes to catch a destroyer. And I do actually spot a destroyer, but right after I set up my strike on this Queen Elizabeth. Now, the Queen Elizabeth, you guys know, has 15-inch guns. They are fantastic, one of the fastest firing 15-inch guns in the game, and it overmatches everything at its tier. So, we're going to put ourselves in position to start affecting this man's life. And first shot, 2 torpedoes. No problem. 8,600 damage right there. And we're going to try to avoid some of the AA and then come back in and try to do it again. Only this time from the backside. Now you can see the destroyer still spotted. And obviously this guy has thrown his ship in reverse. He is starting to stop, so we are going to put these more along the center of the ship and try to make sure we hit both of them once again. And of course we do, taking us up to 16,000 damage. And that Queen Elizabeth has already lost most of his health. Between me torping him for 16k and my teammates shooting him, he's not long for this world. The enemy Icarus pops out for some reason, decides to start shooting at our battleship, and that's not going to end well for him. Our 2 destroyers managed to take him down pretty quickly with the help of the Icarus. Or was it Ishmael? Ishmael, sorry, not Icarus. It was an Icarus. So, yeah, we are going back towards this Queen Elizabeth and the destroyer that's here on this island. We've got him spotted off to our right. We're lining up our strike on the Queen Elizabeth, and I mean, there's nothing he can do about it. This is what I'm talking about. There's literally nothing this man can do. So we're going to get real nice and close, but still make sure we're going to arm, and we hit him with both of those once again. And once again, we're going to go through all of this anti-aircraft and start trying to get away from them. We have taken hits on our 3rd aircraft, but we want that aircraft to stay alive as long as possible. Get outside the AA, turn around, and come back to shoot some torps at this Tennessee. And down goes the 3rd aircraft, meaning that the AA is going to be focused on the 2 that are attacking it, which is not preferable. But in this instance, it doesn't really matter a whole lot as we get ready, and unfortunately, it just does not line up very well. I was hoping that these wouldn't arm and would go underneath the wreck of the Queen Elizabeth and still hit the Tennessee, but it didn't work out that way. Now, you'll notice that our left side's getting absolutely stomped over there. We only got 2 ships left over there, a cruiser and a battleship. We've already lost one battleship over there, and our other battleship is sailing broadside on to 2 battleships. So he's not long for this world. And we're going to go over there and see if we can't start helping maybe soften these guys up a little bit. But it's really not a whole lot we can do here if our team is just destined to throw this match. And it just seems like that's what they're doing. They are literally just sailing around broadside to everybody, begging to be ruined. And the enemy is just taking what they give them. So unfortunately, we lose our battleship. And now this Tennessee that's right here has a pretty easy kill against a cruiser. And so we're going to try to line them up for a bomb drop. And this is where I start getting frustrated with these bombs, is no matter what height I drop them from. I've dropped them from point blank and I've dropped them from max altitude. It doesn't seem to help me get citadels. Because when I drop them from high up, they almost always hit the edges of the ship. They never hit center of the ship. Ever. And then when I drop them low, I hit the center of the ship, but I only get regular penetrations because I don't have enough penetration to get to the citadel. So this is my conundrum. So I try to drop here, and of course they go off to the right side of the ship, even though he was sailing right into my my bomb drop location. And that's the one problem that I have with this ship is the bombs don't seem to get enough penetration. Like the tier 7 citadels all day. All day. All day long. Battleship, cruiser, doesn't matter. You're citadeling everything. This thing, while it does very well to citadel cruiser, like it absolutely wrecks cruisers if they give it the chance. Battleships generally just take regular penetrations from it, and that doesn't give you a whole lot of damage. You're almost better using torpedoes against battleships than you are with the AP bombs. Unless you start scoring citadels. If you're capable of scoring the citadel hits on the battleships, then by all means go with that. That's 9,000 damage a pop. So you definitely want to use them if you can get the citadels. But you can see we're going to line up another attack here, another AP bomb attack. We're going to set it up. We're going to come in, and I believe I wait a little longer to initiate this attack run. There you see it at 1.5 kilometers. Still a little ways out. We're going to be going in much closer and dropping. And you can see right in front of the superstructure, right behind the front guns, still no citadel. Just 2 penetrations, not quite enough. And here I was hoping to get my bombs ready to drop in time. Doesn't happen, so we have to fly through the AA and then get out beyond it so that we can start turning back in. And then we have to re-catch up to them. But again, it's American Dreadnought. This is New Mexico, and so we're not going to have any trouble here. So we're going to catch up to them, get our reticle over the top of them, and then speed up and drop roughly center of, there we go. 2 full penetrations, but no actual citadel. And so you can see now we switch over to our torpedoes. And again, I am trying to hold these 2 guys off. There's 2 American battleships that are trying to get to our base. I'm doing everything in my power to hold these guys off. Both of our destroyers are still focusing the right side over there, and they're sticking glued to one another, which is obnoxious. They really need to separate and have one of them come back and help me with these battleships. And unfortunately, they never do. They actually never separate from one another. They stay glued to one another's hips, and I am the only thing trying to defend the base against these 2 battleships that are coming in. These battleships may be slow as crap, but they do eventually get here at some point. Now, that guy took a shot at something, whether it's the friendly battleship or me, we don't know. But the first torpedo doesn't arm, the second one does. Unfortunately, he started turning towards us at the perfect time, and we weren't able to do anything about that. Now, I was planning on torping this guy, and then I noticed that I've got a much better angle to torp the other guy. And unfortunately, we've got 3-kilometer range, so we've got to make this right. We launch where we think we need to put them out in front of them, but again, really wide torpedo angles on these things. If you make any sort of move whatsoever, they drop them like right on the edge of the reticle, so the torpedoes end up as far away from the target as possible, and we end up crossing out in front of him, which is not preferable. He also turned in towards our torpedoes and avoided them that way. But once again, we've got a full squadron of AP bombs. We're going to swing over the bow of this Tennessee and see if we can't punch him in the mouth. And let's see where we drop from this time. Much closer. This time waiting until 1. We're going to drop much higher up. There you go. And perfect placement. I mean, the bomb hit right where you'd hope it would, but no citadel. So one of them overpinned and the other one hit behind the front turret and in front of the superstructure and did no citadel. It was a full penetration but no citadel. And so that's why I say, like, I just don't think that these have enough penetration to citadel most battleships. At least not in my experience so far. No matter what altitude you launch from. So here we launch a lot lower. We get 2 penetrations. One is an overpin, one is a full pin. And we're up to 50,000 damage done. Now here I obviously have waited a little too long. These guys are about to be in range to spot me. I've got torpedo bombers coming in. So you can see I'm starting to turn my ship to try to get out of here. It's time to put my ship in gear. I should have probably done this a little bit longer, but they reach out to shoot at me, and they're going to absolutely punch me in the mouth here, and I'm going to lose like half my hit points right now because of it. But we've got some more bombers on the way, only 4 of them this time. Because they're so close, we're not getting as many full squadrons, so we've got to make the most of them. And so we take this shot, and of course they split both sides of the ship. One of them hits the edge of the ship, gets a penetration. The other one hits the water. And then we're going to swing around, see if we can't get in here to drop on the New Mexico as well. These guys are starting to not hit me as often with their shots as far as planes go. And this time we get the defense, but we don't actually get the hit. And there you have it. We're at 17,000 hit points left. They just took 2/3 of our health in one salvo. So now I'm trying to turn. I'm trying to get my ship out of here. They still have a destroyer out here somewhere as well, but I'm also trying to attack these guys with everything I have. Because they're so close to me, we're not getting full squadrons. This is a full squadron this time of torpedo bombers, but we're struggling to get full squadrons back in before we launch our planes. So here we're lining up another drop on this Tennessee. He seems to be slowing down. He's kind of turning towards us, and we're going to drop right around there, see if we can't hit him, but unfortunately they are going to split apart and just allow that guy to sit right in the middle of him. And so then we just immediately turn back, start slowing down to try to drop on the New Mexico, allowing us to get 2 really quick torp strikes off, one of which was not very effective. This one looks like it's going to be much more juicy. And you can see those torpedoes almost always go for the outside edges of the torp angle. So I can't seem to get them to drop in the center. It's almost always right on the edges of the torp, of the reticle. Here we have another full squadron, finally, of the bombers, the AP bombers. So we're going to try to swing around and catch these guys again. We see that they are resetting the Tennessee, so I'm going to go for the New Mexico here. Our destroyers are shooting at them now. And they are also in smoke. And we have a destroyer on the inside. Now, the problem with this is, with their battleships in our base, we're losing points. And we get nice and close this time. We get both hits, both penetrations. We shoot down one of their planes. And we are going to try to use our planes to get away from the flak again, get out of here, and turn our ship around. You can see all of the AA on the map just going nuts. But once we get outside of the edge of the AA, we swing back around, and we start lining up our return trip. And one of our destroyers does manage to land a couple torpedoes on New Mexico here, and that's going to allow us to come in and potentially finish this guy off. Hopefully. Start our attack a little further out. We plan on getting nice and close, and we drop, and we missed completely. Completely missed. We expected those to float a little further inland, or in towards the ship, and they just didn't. But Nevny ends up killing the battleship, and that leaves the Tennessee, and then that's when I see this Fubuki coming up on me. Now, unfortunately, Fubuki's so close, it's hard to get a good torp angle on the man, and in the short amount of time that I have. So I just put it out as far ahead of him as I can without making it just an awful shot, and he just outruns them. But he launches torps at me. I'm going to try once again to get some torps off. We've still got some time. I can see where the torps are headed. I know I'm going to have to dodge some torps, but I've got a little bit of time. I don't have to make any crazy moves. Just got to do a little bit of tweaking. And here we launch the torp. It looks like it's gonna hit, and we are able to dodge the torps relatively effortlessly here. Gotta do a little bit of steering manually to avoid getting smashed by his torpedoes. But this is where we get to showcase the secondaries of this thing. He doesn't have a lot of health left, and the secondaries on this thing reload very quickly. And they seem to be pretty accurate. We are not a secondary build. Keep that in mind. This is not a secondary build. This is a standard aircraft build, and this thing's secondaries tear this thing apart pretty effortlessly here. Now, the Fubuki's going to get some torps reloaded again somehow, and he's going to launch one final salvo right before he gets killed by the secondaries, and we get our close quarters. But watch again. We just start turning the ship, and again, that rudder shift isn't that bad. It may have a terrible turning circle, but the rudder shift isn't that bad. So you can get the ship to react relatively quickly, and we managed to dodge those shells. Now, those torpedoes. Now, our destroyers did manage to take out the battleship, but because we lost that other destroyer, and they were in our base for so long, we ended up being 5 points behind. And unfortunately, that's going to be the end of our game, and we lose because of it. So again, I know there was I know Bismarck was in here, I think, and he sent me a GG after the match. And like I said, they did well. The destroyers did well. I just wish one of them had come back and helped with these battleships sooner, because I definitely needed it. I was trying to hold them off, and we ended up having a solid game. 68,000 damage at a tier 5 carrier is not bad. It's not an amazing game, but it's not bad. But we get the close quarters, we dodge some torpedoes, we come in 4th on the team, so not too shabby. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.